Hi, Sidney Freeberg here from Breaking Defense at the huge Association of the U.S. Army conference here in D.C. And it gets really big. This is a semi-trailer simulation for a cutting-edge combat aircraft to deal with modern air defenses, long-range aircraft missiles, defense radars, enemy fighters. The Army wants a new kind of helicopter, or even something beyond a helicopter, that go much faster at much longer ranges, and yet still have all the agility of a helicopter to land in a tight space, drop troops, and get back out quickly, or to zip down a city street and scout out the enemy. Sikorsky, which is now part of Lockheed Martin, is offering their X2 technology, named after the first prototype. They have the S-37 radar flying, and a larger vehicle, the Defiant, in development to carry a squad of troops. And they're working on a Scout version for the Army's future armed reconnaissance aircraft competition. We'll go inside and see the simulator for the Scout right now. So tell me about this very cool thing we're in.
All right, this is the X2 technology Raider variant aircraft for future vertical lift. And it has two great attributes in that it has all the good attributes of a helicopter, and it also goes a lot faster than a helicopter as well. And so I'm going to show you here how I can fly it like a helicopter in low-speed flight. So in low-speed flight, I'm going to push the nose down to accelerate out and push the collective up and accelerate out. Now, flying exactly like a helicopter. In fact, I can fly with the prop engaged or with the prop disengaged.
The pusher propeller on the back that goes for high speed.
The pusher propeller in the back allows this aircraft to cruise in excess of 200 knots.
So you can do everything a current helicopter can do. You don't lose any of that low-speed agility to get in and out of tight places in order to get the extra speed.
That's right. In fact, if we were to sustain combat damage on that prop, we are still a 150, 160 knot helicopter, and we can fly all day long as a rotorcraft if we sustained combat damage on that prop. But with the prop, it allows us, now we're at 215 knots and we're accelerating out still. Got a little bit of a descent rate going, just a slight up input on the controls, and we'll level out here. We can do all sorts of things here, right, that a typical helicopter wouldn't do.
Wow.
We can do a roll.
Warn me next time.
I can push the nose down and then bring the nose all the way up and bring it into a loop. So we're now approaching 3 Gs. Coming up over the top. In fact, now I can back off on the prop on the top side of the loop, and we're going to terminate this loop at a higher altitude than we started it, which is very unusual.
How do you do that? That just the power in the pusher propeller is able to do
sure,
that?
It's the power in the pusher propeller, but it's also the rigid rotor that has phenomenal control power and very crisp, fast response that's much more like a fighter aircraft than it is a helicopter.
Because your classic helicopter, those rotors vibrate up and down. They go through a whole Coriolis force sine wave as they're spinning. This is much more inflexible for a reason.
Usually on a single main rotor helicopter, you have a retreating side. It's going the opposite direction of the airflow. So a large part of that airfoil, the airflow is actually going the wrong way over it. So it's not making any lift. And so now we have two advancing halves. So we have really good airflow over both of those halves of the disc that's providing us the lift, and so it gives us a lot of excess power and excess maneuver capability with that main rotor system.
Now let's see if I can screw this up, because so I've got the full controls over here.
Yep.
And now there's some degree of computer assist so that it doesn't let me mess it up too bad unless you flip all the safeties off.
Right, so you're in pure manual mode here, right? That this is the least amount of augmentation. It's called a rate command system. And so,
just if I push the stick X amount, it moves the aircraft X amount.
That's true. That's true. X amount of rate, and then when you let go of the stick, it's going to hold the attitude that you've set, and it's going to hold that until you tell it to do something different. Now, if I do a aggressive maneuver and I get disoriented, I can upshift to a higher level of stability, and now it's going to take, and I'm hands off, and it's automatically flying the aircraft to a wings level, pitch attitude condition, so that if people are flying in the clouds, over water, in the dark, into a brownout cloud, that they have the stability to be able to fly the aircraft accurately.
Understood. Now, if the pilot's incapacitated, can the system tell that from his lack of input and start taking over, or is that a mode you could program if you don't have it now?
There's there's technology that we have, our matrix technology, autonomy, that we haven't put that element into play yet, but that's certainly possible.
Understood. Well, thanks. Let me see.
It will let you fly into the ground.
So let's not do that.
So, right, so you can come nose up. And you're in attitude command now. So if you want to decelerate to a hover, we can back off on the prop. So since you've got the mic there, I'll hit the prop beeper and we'll back up in order to reduce the thrust so that we'll start slowing down.
Can you bring us into a safe landing on this?
Sure, we'll bring it into a landing, and we're in this desert environment, and this is where it can be very stressful for helicopter pilots coming into these brownout conditions.
Because all the dust gets kicked up by the rotor like a giant fan.
The dust gets kicked up, you can't see where you're going, and you can't see the obstacles on the ground, and it's hard to fly when you're in that condition. So
no kidding, yeah.
Because you use your visual reference to the outside world to be able to fly. So now I put it in this decel to hover mode. I'm coming into a brownout. I'm hands off the flight controls. The flight computer's flying it. I look down here and I see I'm 30 feet off the ground. I knew just before I came into this cloud that there were no obstacles out there that I was going to run into. So now I'm just going to take the collective and make a gentle down input on the collective, and we'll start coming down until we touch down, and I'll do it nice and slow.
The dust is getting really thick out there as you get
yeah,
closer.
And now we're on the ground. I'll push the collective all the way down. And here we are. And
we're home free.
It was relatively easy. It was one hand. I didn't touch the cyclic the whole time, and I just pushed the collective down. Similarly, if I want to take off, I can just pull up on the collective, and I'll have that same level of stability on takeoff.
Well, that's very cool. Thanks very much for getting me in safely.
All right. Thanks for coming.
Bye.